So let's talk about the eviction list.
Okay.
Okay. So, well, first of all, let's talk about what it is. So folks would say to me when they first hear that list, they're like, well, why would I reach out to tenants who are being evicted? But we're not talking to the tenants. We're talking to the landlords on the list. We're talking to the property owners. We're talking to individuals who think they're landlords, right? Because there's people mixed in there. So anyone who has filed an eviction, you can use that list. It does come with a phone number, so you can reach out to them, cold call, text, or whatever, and offer to buy their house. So that's a list that you're familiar with too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about, I guess, your experience with that list and their motivation and what that's been like for you.
What you're gonna find out on that eviction list is you're gonna get cursed out too, but you're gonna get a higher rate of motivation. Literally, before we got here, I picked up a check for $8,000. Now, granted, that was 2 houses, so it was a smaller deal. It was I made $4,000 per house, but what it was, I went to one house and I got her off the eviction list. So I texted her. That's how I got her. I texted her how I got in front of her, and yes, she was wanting to sell because she just had to do an eviction on another house. So she was tired, and she was like, "Hey, look, I just want to get this money out of these houses and take it somewhere else and to another business avenue." And yes, so I closed that one and made $5,000 on another one earlier this week off the eviction list. He did an eviction, and I've been a motivated seller before. I've been a motivated seller before a few times, to be honest with you, and one of them was a tenant did me wrong, you know. So I mean, I'm talking about you walked in the house and you seen the roach nest on the wall, like it was literally on the way out in the open. Like you turned the lights on, they did not run. You know, they looking at you like, yo, what you doing in the house? You know what I'm saying? So, and then the toilet had urine and feces in it above the bowl, and female things in there. So I've been left with that, and I'm like, and I wasn't a motivated seller. So somebody came along with some cash, and I sold it to them immediately. Could I have listed and gotten more? Absolutely, I could have. Could I have held it and waited for the market to go up? Absolutely. But I had a problem, and I wanted some Advil immediately. I didn't want to wait for the Advil to come. So I was able to get out the deal, and I was like, I was done with that one. So sometimes, those motivated sellers, man, they literally need us, man. They have a problem right then and there. And if you wait too long, because I had this happen to me before, after the tenant, after they go through the eviction and they get back in their right mind, they might not want to sell no more. So you have to go after them immediately.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So you go after them immediately, and yes, those people will like to sell. It's a higher rate. You just increase your chances of getting a deal if you go after that list.
Yeah. So. And I think, it's like my second favorite next to probate, right? And I'll be honest, that's a very tedious list to put together, because I know my company, when we put it together, we have to pull out all the commercial apartments, all the junk out of this list, and so like every single entry is just straight up residential properties. So that way, by the time it gets to you, you're just straight up calling people who have filed within a house. So it's kind of, not every list provider is going to provide an eviction list. It's really a niche, and I think there's so much opportunity. There's so many cases. You just want to get a list that has been filtered, that has been pulled within that 30-day window we've talked about. Get some phone numbers and talk to some folks immediately, landlords, property owners immediately.
Yes, and just remember this: the harder the list is to get, the more profitable and the higher chances you have to get a deal off of it. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. So, we like headache lists. It's like we're looking for headaches in regard to properties.
Yeah.
And we want a list that's a headache to put together.
That's correct.
Right.
And you have the Advil in your pocket. So just keep that in mind.
We have Advil at Law Clerk on Demand. On list. All right. So I want to talk about one more list with you, which I think is one of your favorites from what I know, the code violation list.
Yes.
Right? So let's talk about, for us, that's an address list, so it's a list you would have to mail or skip trace.
Yes.
Right? So what has your experience been when you finally speak to a potential seller on a code violation list?
Yeah, now code violation doesn't necessarily mean that it is something serious going on.
Right.
Code violation could be they let their grass grow too high. You know, so but you're gonna go through those to get to that person who has a hole in the roof, and the code enforcement officer rolled past and seen the hole in the roof and wrote them up, and they don't have any money to get that hole in the roof fixed. Or a tenant broke something in the house, or they gave the tenant a bad house, and the tenant called the city on them, and you know, so now you gotta they have to resolve that issue. And you know, I don't know the exact statistics right now, but the average American lives paycheck to paycheck. So, you know, I read something whereas X% don't have $500 in savings. So now we talking about getting the whole roof done. You know, you talking about replumbing the house because there's not only a leak in the kitchen, there's a leak in the bathroom, and there's a leak under the house. I've seen that before, believe it or not. So, yeah, you want to go after those particular houses because those people really have a problem and they need some relief. And a lot of times, because as investors, we deal with the minority of the market. When I say the minority of the market, meaning that the majority of the market can just go list with a realtor. They don't need to sell, they want to sell. But the people we deal with is the minority, which they need to sell that property. And they just can't go to a realtor because they want to talk to a realtor first, and the realtor told them like, yeah, you know, I'll take on a listing, but just fix this, that, and the third. Right. And they're like, wait, I don't have any money to fix that.
Exactly.
So yeah, and that's where we come in and we buy the house and, you know, flip it for a profit.
Yeah, I like it. All right. Now, I have two lists that I kind of want to put together, which would be like pre-foreclosures or tax sale lists. A faster window, right, to reaching out to those individuals. Is that a list that you would recommend like a new investor to be working, or do you think it's better to have a list like a probate where it's a lot slower process? What do you think?
For a new investor? Either list, probate, eviction, or code enforcement, and either of those would be great for a new investor because you're spending less money overall, which as an absentee on the list, you got to get a big list. You know, 1,000 names might not do it. You know, you might need 10,000 names, but you get 50 names or so for somebody as yourself, and then from Law Clerk on Demand, and from there you cold call, text, you know, ring the voicemail of that list. You actually have a higher chance of getting a deal because you know those people have a problem.
Right. I like it. And then the last one is divorce. Have you done anything with divorce lists? And if so, what would you recommend?
I have not done anything with divorce lists. I have came across houses that people call me back because they're, you know, with divorce, but I haven't specifically went after that list.
Okay.
But that's a high motivation list. So I've heard people talk good things about that list that, you know, unfortunately, you know, things happen in life, and, you know, a lot of people, they don't plan to get divorced, but it happens. So it's a reality, and therefore what you want to do is they have real estate. They have to settle that real estate, and they're willing to let it go because at that point, it might not be about money. It might be about peace. Because if I can sell this house, I don't have to deal with him or her anymore, and I can move on with my life. Like, I've seen that when they don't want, well, the one person or both of them might not want no money. They just want a piece of happiness. The older you guys get, from my younger crowd, you cannot put a dollar amount on just having peace and being happy. And you cannot put a dollar amount on that, man. So, you know, and a lot of times these people are like, look, we just want to, if we can sell this house and make X amount, we happy. We don't care what's where. We just want to get out of this house, so I don't have to see him or her anymore.
Okay. And finally, can you just give advice to, you know, folks that are getting lists and they're frustrated? You know, maybe they're trying to make the transition from the old absentee list, right, or something like that, or maybe they've gotten a targeted list and they haven't gotten to that deal yet. They're frustrated. They've called the list once or twice and they're frustrated. What would you say to them right now?
I just keep going. It took me 8 months to get my first deal. 8 months of consistent work, not like 8 months off and on. Like I was consistent. You know, yeah. Every Saturday morning, I would just get up and drive for dollars, etc. Sunday, write it out. So yeah, it took me 8 months of doing that, just sacrificing and making time for these things to work for me to get my first deal. And I had to do it outside of my job, so around my job hours. So for anybody just struggling, you have to be consistent. I see that people, they might buy a list from you in November, and then it didn't work, so they start back in February. No. You gotta stay consistent, consistent with it. So, and it'll come through. It's not gonna happen, fast. Wholesaling, real estate, basically buy low, sell high. It's simple, but it's not easy. Just keep that in mind. Simple, but it's not easy at all. So just stick with it and prepare yourself mentally for the journey.
Hi, this is DeOnna Britt from Law Clerk On Demand. Thank you so much for checking out my video today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below a video topic that you might be interested in. Also, if you are involved in real estate, don't forget to visit our website, lawclerkondemand.com, and grab a specialty real estate lead list and find your next deal.